All right. This is Post on Campus. My name is Kesha Wilkerson, and I am the Wisconsin City Director. Thank you for joining us today on Post on Campus. Today I have Janiece Piolet with us, a soon-to-be Impact and University Gospel Choir alumni. So she's graduating in, 6 days?
6 days.
6 days. So I wanted to sit down with her and give you a chance to get to know her a little bit and her experience on this campus and how Impact has impacted her life. So I hope you enjoy. So Janiece,
Hi.
how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. We are almost there. It's been 4.5 years. I'm excited. But yeah, doing good.
Good. So I have some questions for you. So just be real, honest. So I'm excited to hear about your experience. I know a little bit about your experience, so I spent some time here with you. But just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how did you end up at UW-Madison, and a little bit about your major and how you chose your major.
Yeah. So I'm Janiece. I'm from Chicago, the west side of Chicago. And I ended up at UW because of the Posse Foundation, the scholarship program that they have here. When I first got here, I was originally a civil engineering student.
Really?
Which is not what I do now. Not at all.
That.
Yeah, a lot of people don't guess that. But in a few days, I'm going to be graduating with a degree in psychology, a degree in sociology, and a certificate in educational policy studies.
You've been busy.
So yes, it's been a long 4.5 years. But I have enjoyed it. There have been some ups, there have been some downs, but in terms of like the educational part, I've definitely enjoyed all of that I've learned. I'm really excited for what I want to go into, which is student affairs and higher education work, because we need change on our college campuses. Yes. And so yeah, that's a little bit about my life.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that, because I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, I love math and science. Like, I love physics. Like, it was my favorite subject and everything. Like, I was ready. And it kind of goes into my understanding of, like, race and activism on campus. But when I first got to the College of Engineering, of course, it's predominantly white, predominantly male. And as a black woman in that space, it just was not welcoming. And it was micro and macro aggressive. And I did not feel the support that I needed at that time. And so while I often do wonder what it would have been like had I gone to a different campus to do engineering, I still have found like a lot of joy in the work that I'm doing now since I switched those majors. And I think ultimately it's going to give me more joy in the future as well in terms of a career and the impact I'll be able to have in that way.
Wow. So you saying that it wasn't just that major wasn't for you, it was just the experience of being who you are in the spaces.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, like in high school, like all throughout high school, all 4 years, I was like, I want to do engineering. Like when I was younger, I loved the Legos, I like to build things, I like to know how things work. I enjoyed physics. Roller coasters were my favorite thing. That was one of the things I was also thinking about trying to do. But, so I knew it was going to be difficult.
Wow.
I was ready for it to be difficult. I took my AP classes and everything. Like, my last AP physics teacher, he actually sent me off with one of the textbooks for the class. Because he really believed in, and I believed in myself as well. Like, this is what I wanted to do. But again, like once I got to the College of Engineering, like classmates like hit me up with Medea references from out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
People greeting me like, yo, what's good? And like I've never spoken to them in that way. And in general, people just doubting the intellect that I had when I knew like what I was doing and I knew I was doing it right, and they didn't want to believe me. And then when the professor comes back, it's like, this is how it's done. And I'm looking at my paper like, I know that's how it's done. Thank you. And so just like experiences like that and recognizing that while it was something I was passionate about, if this is what the field is going to be like once I graduate, I'm not going to put myself through that pressure. Because I know eventually it's just going to lead to burnout. And so while it would have been like a really economically stable decision, and you know, like, oh, Black female engineer, like, while it would have come with accolades and with the money, I personally I probably would not have felt satisfied with the work I was doing, especially like knowing my heart now and knowing how much of a passion I have for people, and the experiences of people. And so yeah, it took a lot of reflection. It took a lot of realizing that it wasn't me. It wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. I was smart enough. I was capable enough. I just did not want to force myself to continue living and learning in a way that was going to be harmful to me overall. And so yeah, it was an unfortunate lesson that I learned here at UW, but it also goes into what I study now with psychology and sociology, and prejudice reduction and bias trainings. And so I've been involved in research since I've been here at UW, and that's what I've been studying, is like, how do we create classrooms, create campuses that allow for our students to feel welcomed, included, involved, and a part of that process. And so again, like, while it was unfortunate that I experienced those things, it really fueled my passion for this line of work, and going into higher education to change it.
Yeah, so that's so I'm just gonna exit out all of this stuff that I got, because we gonna hit that and we gonna hit it hard, because I think it's something that people don't think about. That people assume that people of color are not engineers, are not doctors, are not lawyers, or in these spaces because they're inadequate. That they don't have the skills and the ability to do it. And sometimes they might not believe they don't have the skills or ability to do it. They may just believe that they have worse schools that makes it harder for them. And sometimes that is the case, but many people don't hear the fact that I was qualified, I was doing well, but socially,
it just was
I was not willing to have to deal with what I had to deal with to be in that space. Yeah,
and I would say that's how it was for me. Like, my high school in Chicago, I went to Kenwood Academy High School. It's like 85 to 90% Black. And we like to joke that we're like the HBCU high school of Chicago. Like, everybody who goes to Kenwood loves Kenwood. We all Black. We love Blackness. We fully engage in it. And along with that school came Black teachers and Black educators who really instilled that work ethic in us, and really made it very clear that we are capable. Like, we can go out here and we can do the things and we can do the work. And so when I left Kenwood, I was fortunate to have that experience and like go into UW knowing that I was capable and had no doubts about my own abilities.
And you in your training back then.
Yeah. And so when I did go off, like I said, I was ready. I passed my physics tests. I passed the AP classes. I took calculus. I took college level calculus. Like, I tested into the second level of calculus here at UW. I was a direct admit to the College of Engineering, which is not easy.
No.
And sometimes it is difficult for me to like think back and process, because again, like, thinking about the future of Black folks in STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and I think either medicine or mathematics, but yeah, in STEM fields, like, while it is important for like young Black girls and young Black boys to see engineers or doctors or whoever doing the work that they want to do, I also, because of my Blackness, because of my womanness, have to balance my own mental health and sanity with trying to be that person that young person is gonna see. And so I like to think that in this line of work, while I'm not gonna be that engineer that person's gonna wanna see, I will be that administrator on campus who is going to fight to the death to make sure that they feel like they belong in that classroom, that they feel heard in that classroom, and that students who are perpetuating these outlets of like hate and outright violence
Yeah.
against minoritized identities, like knowing that they're going to be addressed. Because it's something that I didn't necessarily see here at UW, and I don't want any other student to have that experience.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a large systemic type thing, but it takes people doing that work on the ground, and I'm willing to do that work on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Do you remember anything specific, anything that happened specifically that you can share to kind of give a little bit of a background or a feeling of what it was like to be in that space?
Yeah. Let me think. Again, like there were the Medea references. There was one time in my calculus class, and I kind of started talking about it, but in this class, it was a lecture, and so the professor was up there doing practice problems and whatnot. So he puts a practice problem on the board, and he says, turn to your neighbors and like work through the practice problem. First off, because
I can imagine what happened.
Yeah. So first off, there's the bubble around me, which is basically like, most folks come into class with like their friends or like people that they know from other classes. They sit next to them. That didn't happen with me. It was, the seats were empty.
Yeah.
So not only like processing that, but now I'm thinking, okay, now I have to go try and find somebody to partner up with who will understand that like I am capable of doing this calculus problem. So I then turn next to me, I see a couple of white male students, and I'm like, hey, like, can I join y'all? They kind of acted like they didn't hear me, I'm guessing, because they didn't respond. They just started talking with each other. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so I continued to do the problem on my own. And again, like it was a problem that I knew how to do. And so, I process through it, I get it done, and I'm pretty much confident in my answer. So I can still hear the other two male students, and they're like struggling with this problem. They're legit like going back and forth. No, we should do this, we should do that. Like, I don't think that's the way. And here I am done with the problem. And so I turn toward them and I'm like, hey, would you like me to like help you walk through the problem? I've already done it, and I would like really like to, talk through it with y'all. And they're like, no, we got it. And so again, like I'm just sitting here like, well, okay. And so, I sit and I wait for the professor to come back, and the professor comes back. He goes to the question, and he does the question out on the board, and it was exactly what I had. So I did the question completely right, and they had done the question wrong. And whether it be pride or actual like racism or implicit bias, like those two students did not think that I knew what I was doing enough to even consider talking to me.
And not only are you a student of color, but you're also a woman.
I'm a woman, exactly.
So it's probably a mix of both
Yes.
things that are happening.
Yeah, I am a firm believer that it was intersectional type of things happening. Because again, the Medea reference, like that is specifically a black woman, or Tyler Perry's portrayal of a black woman. And while like the black community loves Medea, she is not an accurate depiction of black women and who we are and what we do. And so people walking up to me like, hello, and I'm just, that's not appropriate. And so, yeah, like, I think that the experiences that I had were raced and were gendered in a way that was unique. And again, like ultimately led to me questioning the field and questioning like what was my place in it.
Yeah, that's what, and I find it interesting that you were able to use that experience to say, you know what, I want to go into this field and address those issues. So like, how do you? I think you spoke to it a little bit, but how do you plan on doing that now as someone that's seeking to enter into the field of student affairs, a place where you have direct access with students, and even power to be able to address some of those issues that are happening?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to like having that systemic power. And of course, like in the field of student affairs, you got to work your way up, as with any field, to really get to those positions where you can make those changes like that. But for me, when I go off to, my plan is to go to grad school next fall. For higher education and student affairs. And so my plan is to go in wanting to have more knowledge about student activism, about diversity and inclusion work, about strategies that have worked on different campuses, because there are campuses that are doing this work, who can do this work. Even other Midwestern Big Ten institutions who are doing this work and doing it well. And so having that knowledge, that background, having my own knowledge as a student activist here at UW and like participating in student activist spaces, trying to put those together so that once I go off to a new campus, first understanding the context of the students there, because everything should be student-centered in student affairs work. And if you're not centering the students, it's not student affairs work. You're just a pawn for the institution that you're at. And so understanding the students, bringing in the knowledge that I have, using my position and power in order to enact the changes that they want to see. And also like finding other advocates in the field in order to do that work. Through professional organizations, like one of them that I'm a part of is called NASPA. I can't remember what the actual acronym is, but it's for student affairs professionals and student affairs hopefuls. And it's very much like social justice based work. And that's something I really do believe in. Both learning that from like Impact and like the combination of like faith and social justice work that I've received from this organization, and being able to put that back into the work that I'm able to do. And I think that goes into when I said that while I did switch from the thing that I thought was my dream, I am much more satisfied doing this work. Because I know that I'm here supporting students, whether they're believers or not, in order to be their best selves on their campuses. And so I think that's what's really like fueling my drive and my passion, because it is difficult work. It's gonna be difficult work. Like seeing UW, it's gonna be difficult work. But I fully believe in myself that I can do the work.
That's cool. So like you kind of started to go in that, but like go into this area. But how does all of this fit into your understanding of the gospel of Jesus Christ, your development and impact in the University Gospel Choir, which is the Impact Partnership Ministry on University of Wisconsin-Madison's campus? Like, how has that driven you? How does that equip you? How do you see you using your experiences in those spaces as you graduate and you go into graduate school and eventually become a student affairs practitioner at whatever campus that God calls you to? Like, what does that look like for you, and how do you begin to use what you've learned in this space in the ways that you've been discipled and built up as a leader, as well as in what we've experienced and learned in Bible studies and conferences and things? Like, what does that look like for you to be able to put what you experience in ministry and your equipping in ministry as you go into these different fields and directions?
I will say that Impact has really been a huge part of like my last 2 years, and understanding how my faith intertwines with everything that I do. And if you keep God first, then everything else falls into line. Whether that be from, like our Impact team here at UW, we are small but mighty, as the choir likes to say. I'm the vice president of the choir. And there are definitely times where we're like, we don't know how this is gonna get done, but we are gonna pray on it, we are gonna do the work, and we are going to keep God first and keep God's mission first, and keep the gospel first. And in doing all of that, it's really built my faith, because I've seen the product that comes out of it be a very beautiful and very intentional thing. I've seen folks like be more involved in the gospel and be more involved in their faith and begin to recommit themselves, because they understand that through Impact, through UGC, yes, we are Christ-centered, but we also care very much about the Black identity as well. And how that work has come together to support me as a student, to support my faith, to support me as a developing Christian, and also support the work that I want to do going out to the other campuses.
Yeah.
Because the gospel and Jesus himself was very much like a social justice advocate. He was a righteous revolutionary. And being able to do that same line of work and having that same power within me to make that change on this campus has been a really big and really important part of me continuing that faith and continuing to fight and continuing to have that passion. That's something that I learned from Impact. And I think, especially this last semester here at UW, our theme being marathon, you have moments where you're starting and you're ready and you're getting ready to run, but then you get tired. What do? How do you rest? And then having time to reflect on your strategy. When do you need to regroup? How do you go? And remembering that God is in all of those processes has been phenomenal for me and has been really impactful for me, especially like getting ready to head out and finish up my undergrad. And so I think Impact and UGC have really like held me down in that faith part, in that commitment part, and helped me process through those anxieties of getting ready to transition out into the real world, but still knowing that God is in control at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, all points in the day, and that he's gonna have my back. And so I have nothing to fear. Impact it's been amazing, and I'm so glad I met you, and that I was able to come into this ministry. So yes,
that's cool. Well, I want to say I'm proud of you. And I'm really excited to see what God does through you on these different campuses and different things. And we've had conversations about the fact that the work that you're talking about is evangelism. That it is showing people that God cares about everything that you deal with. And if you're experiencing racism, God cares about that.
Yes.
And like even if we go back to Genesis and it talks with Jesus, God says that we're made, like we're all made in God's image, and when we're treated like we're not, that's not okay. It is sinful, and racism is treating people as if they're not image bearers of God. So to be able to go into spaces and speak into that for students, like that very thing is evangelism and showing people, like there's a lot of people that don't accept Jesus to this day because of the experiences and what they've heard, and the history of this country, where white Christians have said that black people are less than and owned us as slaves and did everything in their power to be separate from us. And still continue to treat us differently and as if we're less than. But for us to be able to come into spaces, into campuses, and tell students that is a lie.
It's a lie. And
that God values us, that God loves us, and that we are an image bearer of Him as well. And to be able to do that in spaces with students that are non-believers and believers will be a great blessing. And I'm so excited to see what God does through that, or even to see the students that come to get to know you and accept Jesus when they realize like, well, you believe in Jesus, and see how your fight for them, and how that fight comes from your faith, and then they begin to ask you questions about, well, why do you still follow Jesus, where all these other people follow Him and they do these bad things to us, and you'll be able to speak into that and say that was out of greed, that was out of selfishness, but what Scripture says is that you are an image bearer of God, and that He loves you and He wants you. Like that will open doors that might not, in places where other people can't go into, because you already have that buy-in and trust from students. So I'm really excited to see what God does with that.
And I'll also say that's kind of something that I learned from you.
Yeah.
To be honest, like seeing someone who is like very much like on fire for Christ, on fire for God, wanting to share the gospel and evangelize with students on campus, but also like recognizing that social justice part and recognizing that Christianity and Christ has been used in ways that are harmful to people, and reclaiming that narrative. And so that's definitely something that I really admired in you when I first got to know you and I first like came into the Impact space, and being like, wow. And so just like saying thank you for, being that example, Because you're one of the people who really inspired me to continue to do this work and having faith in this work.
That's good to hear. That makes me happy. I'm excited for you to choose graduate school so I can come visit you and hang out wherever you go. So yeah, thank you so much. Well, this has been Post on Campus. Thank you so much for joining us. We have another vlog. She mentioned Righteous Revolutionaries. We have another vlog that was posted in November that talked in detail about what Righteous Revolutionaries are. So please go check that out if you are able. Once again, my name is Kesha Wilkinson. I am the Wisconsin City Director here in Wisconsin. If you want to learn more about the Impact Movement, go to impactingwisconsin.org, and to give, go to impactwisconsin.org /give. Thank you for coming, and check you out next time. Bye.